Welcome to the Peak of Geek, where we've hit the top but with no plans to stop. Question for you. When you were a kid, did you ever play Bloody Mary? You know, that game where you go into a bathroom, turn off all the lights, light a few candles, stare into your own reflection and say Bloody Mary 3 times? Well, I would play that game a little differently. Instead, I would say Beetlejuice. 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 And it still wouldn't work. But that's how much I love that original 1988 film. And as of the recording of this video, a trailer just dropped for the upcoming sequel. And while I am nervously excited to see Michael Keaton step back into that role, my favorite version of the bio-exorcist has shifted over the years to one that sings and dances. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Beetlejuice was director Tim Burton's second movie and acted as a follow-up to the more family-friendly Pee-wee's Big Adventure. While there were a few creepy moments in Pee-wee, I'll never forget Large Marge, Beetlejuice is Burton's first project that feels like what would become known as a Tim Burton film, complete with a stylistic, twisted vibe and tone. One could even argue that Beetlejuice set the stage for Burton's descent into even darker subject matter, with movies like Edward Scissorhands and The Nightmare Before Christmas. For those out there who skipped this one, Beetlejuice follows Adam and Barbara Maitland, who are spending their vacation decorating their home when they unexpectedly have an accident. They soon realize they've died and become ghosts. However, they're unable to leave their home and they decide to scare the new family out. They meet a bio-exorcist named Beetlejuice who they consider asking for help and soon befriend the new family's daughter, Lydia. Hijinks ensue and before you know it, everyone lives or dies happily ever after. But there's no two ways about it. Beetlejuice is a weird movie. When it hit theaters over 35 years ago, it was unlike anything else at the time. And the original script was even weirder. Beetlejuice only works as well as it does because I feel it's one of only a handful of movies out there to actually expertly balance comedy and horror. There are 100% moments here that can be pretty terrifying and may have slightly scarred me as a child, but in the movie's defense, it never forgets the absurdity of everything going on, which stops it from leaping into full-on horror. In the original script, Beetlejuice was much, much darker. Nowadays, the title character can best be described as a lovable but troublesome menace, made that much more endearing thanks to Michael Keaton's one-of-a-kind performance. But in that first draft, Beetlejuice was a winged demon who takes the form of a short Middle Eastern man. Okay, winged demon, awesome. Chance to offend those from the Middle East? Maybe not the best idea. But hey, fortunately that's one of many things that was changed during multiple rewrites. Beetlejuice is also way more violent in this original incarnation. Most of his plans to help the Maitlands or Lydia usually end with him planning to kill and torture his victims violently instead of simply scaring them away. But thanks to a few more rewrites, the violence in Beetlejuice was significantly toned down until it became the movie we know and love today. Something that leans into its gothic horror elements, but still stands with its feet firmly planted in the comedy genre. Part of me is morbidly curious about the alternate reality out there where Beetlejuice is a horrifying movie, but I think I'll always prefer what we got. A comedy with a razor-sharp edge. Beetlejuice is one of those movies that played on cable television all the time when I was growing up, and with a few choice edits to remove a few lines of dialogue and thin out a graphic scene or two, one could be tricked into thinking it's a pretty kid-friendly film. Someone might even think it was perfectly suitable to rent for a nice afternoon with a friend's family. But little would they know that partway through the movie, the title character would say a certain word that cell phones often change to duck. Did that naive little boy get in trouble for suggesting said movie? Quack quack. But that didn't stop me from rewatching Beetlejuice every chance I could. I would still look away whenever that closet is open and Gina Davis jump scares us all by pulling her face off. That still haunts me. Oh wow, is that why I'm afraid of closets? But let's back up a bit. The opening credits crawl where we're slowly panning across Adam's model of the town, that still looks fantastic. And I still often forget that's not a helicopter filming a real city from above. I mean, until the spider appears, obviously. This movie is bursting at the seams with imagination. I love the handbook for the recently deceased and how it's so hard to read it's compared to reading stereo instructions, and when the main characters have to draw a door in the wall to go visit their caseworker in the super weird bureaucratic waiting room of the dead. I definitely remember times of standing in my basement with a piece of chalk in hand, debating whether I should draw my own door just to see where it leads. I never ended up going through with it, and that's a good thing because that door would have led to one place and that would have been my room because I would have been grounded. I also love that when the Dietzes move in, what they do to Adam and Barbara's house is arguably scarier than the afterlife. With all the imaginative but horrifying art pieces and interesting decor, and am I the only one who thought Winona Ryder's Lydia was so cool? And when I saw this movie along with Ghostbusters when I was a kid, I so badly wanted to see ghosts in my house. In retrospect, that would have been horrifying. One of my favorite parts of the movie is actually such a small moment. When Adam and Barbara walk down the hall to find Juno's office for the first time, they come upon the Lost Souls room. And as the janitor puts it, it's death for the dead. That's so haunting, but also so intriguing. There's so much potential when it comes to expanding this imaginative world. We spend so little of this movie in the afterlife, and we're left with so many questions. When Beetlejuice hit theaters in 1988, it was both a critical and a financial success, and it would go on to win the Academy Award for Best Makeup. 1 year later, following the film's success, kids would be introduced to Beetlejuice, Lydia, and the Dietzes in a brand new, more lighthearted way with Beetlejuice, the cartoon TV series. While Beetlejuice wanted to, marry the teenage Lydia in the original movie so he could wreak havoc in the world of the living, in this animated retelling of events, they're platonic best friends. Gone are the Maitlands and Juno the caseworker, since the movie's happy ending didn't really make sense for this series. Fortunately, those sandworms are still around, along with so many new faces. But Beetlejuice and Lydia aren't running around the afterlife. No, it's the neither world. And instead of being a perverted bioexorcist who sort of wants to kill people, now he's just a harmless prankster. We even get to meet Beetlejuice's family, like Nat and Bee Juice. While Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder do not reprise their roles, the sound-alikes are not bad, especially Stephen Ouimet as Beetlejuice. That guy really nails Keaton's gravelly voice and mannerisms. And it's actually impressive how much of the movie is still present in this cartoon. From the Danny Elfman-like score, which the composer himself reworked for the show's opening, to many of the movie's sets and the overall color palette, a lot of it has been reworked in a way that makes sense for a younger audience. The hallway that leads to the Lost Souls room is even here. While the movie was a success, it was arguably the cartoon show that exploded Beetlejuice into mainstream popularity. The show would end up running for almost 100 episodes across 4 seasons, and would go on to spawn toys, with some even found in kids' meals at Burger King, and a few Nintendo games, one on the Game Boy and one on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Since the NES game used the movie's poster for the game's box art, but definitely looks more like the cartoon, you could say it was based on both. The game itself was a mediocre platformer that was way too hard for its targeted demographic and should probably be avoided unless you're a Beetlejuice superfan. Since the movie and the children's TV show were so popular, it's no surprise that talks of a movie sequel began behind the scenes. And with the rise of the internet in the late 90s, it was easy to find rumors on message boards chatting about the fabled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. When I first heard of this concept, I immediately dismissed it as a joke not to be taken seriously. But sure enough, this was a real idea that Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, and Winona Ryder were all interested in making. But before long, Burton and Keaton would become more interested in making a completely different sequel, this one to The Dark Knight, with Batman Returns in 1992. Throughout the 90s, Tim Burton would continue pursuing the Hawaiian sequel idea by approaching different writers and staying in contact with Michael Keaton, who would keep championing the idea over the years. Burton has since gone on to say that other Beetlejuice sequel concepts were considered, including Beetlejuice and the Haunted Mansion, like the Disney ride, and Beetlejuice Goes West, like Fievel the Mouse? Really? And then, in 2018, Beetlejuice came back to the pop culture mainstream in a huge way. Okay, you could say that he'd never left since his overly merchandised face always littered the cluttered, claustrophobic mall windows of Hot Topic or the dilapidated warehouse shelves of Spirit Halloween, but still, he came back in a new way with Beetlejuice the Musical. As someone who does not live in New York but unabashedly loves musicals, I've repeatedly listened to the incredible songs in the original Broadway cast recordings and watched a few performances on YouTube, and I'm proud to say this is one of the greats. Alex Brightman is Beetlejuice. He flirts with the Michael Keaton's I am gargling with concrete performance while, making it a voice that's not terrible to listen to while singing. And oh man, the clips and photos I've seen of the set design, complete with the sandworm puppets, absolutely fantastic. And as much as I love the movie, the musical might actually understand the story and its characters even better? I fully admit that this take is a bit biased since I adore musicals, but I honestly think each character from the Tim Burton movie are given more emotional depth outside their more stereotypical origins. Like Adam and Barbara, they're meant to be a painfully normal and kind of boring couple who have a house that society thinks is too big for a childless couple. In the musical version, they're singing about how they're diving so deep into their unique hobbies so they don't have to make any big life decisions. Similarly, Lydia is given a more emotionally resonant role. In the movie, we know she's a dark, gothic teenager who doesn't get along with her stepmother, but in the musical, the death of her real mom is the beating heart of this story. And it makes Lydia that much more relatable and puts more building blocks in place for her eventual relationship with Adam and Barbara as her additional parent-type roles to fill that emotional gap. And of course, Beetlejuice is given the fanciest glow-up. Arguably the biggest flaw with the movie is how long it takes to get to Beetlejuice. And when compared to the other characters, he's not on screen for very long, which is a shame since Keaton's performance honestly steals the show. But in the musical, Alex Brightman's interpretation is front and center. He opens the show, has all the best jokes, and his relationships with the Maitlands and Lydia are explored in a more narratively satisfying way. Motivations are given more resonance too. And like many musicals based on popular movies, there are nods and winks to the source material, but Beetlejuice the Musical truly stands on its own, while diving much deeper into the characters. Let's just say Beetlejuice 2 has a lot to live up to. By 2015, the Beetlejuice movie sequel script was allegedly finished, with Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton interested and involved. But then, multiple rewrites would happen, and the project was shelved in 2019. However, an unlikely hero would come in and save the day. Brad Pitt's studio Plan B Entertainment joined the team on the production side to restart the sequel and bring Tim Burton back as director. I do wonder if the unexpected success of the musical helped reignite interest in Beetlejuice. I mean, that's how it goes in my headcanon. Anyway, before long, Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara were brought in to officially reprise their characters, with Justin Theroux, Willem Dafoe, and Monica Bellucci joining as new ones. The sequel's teaser trailer doesn't give anything away story-wise, but we do get to see Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton back in their roles as Lydia and Beetlejuice, and they are already killing it. Beetlejuice is one of those rare movies that came together at the perfect time to deliver a true cinematic achievement. Are these words too good for a silly comedy about a troublesome ghost? I don't think so. I really think the movie is that good. But what do you think? Are you a fan of Beetlejuice? Have you watched or listened to the musical? Are you excited for the sequel that's finally coming out? Let me know all about it down in the comments below, and until next time, whenever I watch any Dune adaptation, including the new Timothée Chalamet-led version, I'm always keeping an eye out for a mysterious door to appear in midair or for a striped sandworm to come bursting out of the spice field. I mean, those movies gotta exist in the same universe, am I right? Hey, hope you're having a super awesome day. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much, and I'll see you real soon.